I'm Evan, and this series has been shaped by me. Welcome to Symbiotic Vibration, a space born from struggle and built for healing. I'm Evan, and this series has been shaped by my journey through having lived with a brain tumour and navigating the 7 years to this very day since its removal. My hope is that these insights may guide you through whatever experiences and storms you may be going through at present. I promise you, you're not alone, and there's light at the end of this tunnel. So, with that being said, let's walk this path together and see where it may lead us.
Okay, and welcome to Symbiotic Vibration. Originally I planned to film the start of this series at a beautiful lake, but the wind was just far too strong. So we took a little walk around the woods in search of a new area, and eventually would stumble upon this sign, which would lead us to the old scout hut. And so another short walk through the woods, beautiful woods. We would eventually arrive at our destination, the old scout hut, a beautiful little tranquil place where our series will begin. So, enjoy.
Hello there, beautiful being, and welcome to Symbiotic Vibration, and welcome to a survivor's guide to survival. Rather than me aimlessly rambling on about what this series will entail, I'd prefer to ask a litany of questions that you may have and answer them accordingly. So, what is symbiotic vibration? Symbiotic vibration is a space created with the purpose of connecting people who wish to live in harmony and unity, who accept each other's individuality, but also understand that as a collective we need to unite, we need to gather, we need to share, we need to find compassion for one another's stories, and we need to help each other through our darkest hours. And the idea is to share my journey, past and continued research, and also to gather as many insights from your journeys as possible, to bring as much information and light as possible to those who are travelling dark paths at this current time and need to find light at the end of their tunnel, and for many, many generations to come. And so, what is a survivor's guide to survival? So the first of many series planned, A Survivor's Guide to Survival, is a series created for you, the viewer, in the hopes that my experience of living with a brain tumour and attempting to navigate the 7 years since its removal may help to guide you through whatever it is that you're going through right now, whatever it is that has brought you to here, viewing me speak about this at present, whether that be a physical, a mental, an emotional and or spiritual issue. And so, what is it that makes me a survivor? As stated earlier, this series is being created for you, the viewer. However, I will have to delve into my own past and my own experience in order to create a template for you to help you. Rather than go into detail, I will try to synopsize this as quick as possible, because this is, after all, just an introduction. But essentially, in my early 20s, I ran into a physical problem. I was diagnosed with a brain tumour at 23, and I would suffer for many years before having it removed 7 years ago at 25. And it hasn't been an easy navigation of life since then, but I have somehow made it to this point where I do feel grounded enough to share and help you through whatever it is that you're going through. And so that's as much as I'll reveal right now, because this series will be long, it will be dragged out, and I will use myself as an example, as previously said. So until then, that's all you'll get. What can you do for yourself throughout this series? So if you are going to follow this series and you plan to become a member of the Symbiotic Symphony of this community, well, I am to assume at that point you require guidance or you require connection. All that I ask is that you remain consistent, you remain authentic, and you remain honest to the core throughout this experience. I'll be deep diving through some profound experiences and topics throughout this series. No doubt along the way, I will elicit an emotional or physical response within you. If that happens, I suggest that you acquire a journal or something to write on along the way. And at any of those moments, just pause the video and feel what's happening. Experience what it is that's happening to you. Document it in detail if you like, or just short. And that's enough information for now, but we will deep dive into that idea as we go along. This path that I'm trying to bring you on, it's a path of self-discovery. It's one for both you and I. And my hope is that throughout it, we should be able to give you the best chance to enlighten this dark path that you now find yourself on. And from here, I'm going to go to some water. So this will be the last time you see me at the old scout hut that I found. So, welcome to the water, where the next host of questions will take place. The first being, where will this series take place? This series will take place primarily here in my home country, Ireland. The beautiful, beautiful Ireland. Whilst this series is an inward journey for the both of us, I'll also be taking you on an outward journey, traversing this magical country. And from time to time, I may also be in other countries. I'm not quite sure. But if I am, and I do have time, well then, I'll document those countries too. Also, in order for me to elaborate on anything that I'm missing when I'm out and about, I'll sometimes be in my studio. And so I'll show you the studio right now. Welcome to the studio. If ever there is a need to elaborate on anything that I do say in these videos, or some supplementary information is needed that I may have missed, I will do so from the studio. Also, due to the country's weather forecast here, sometimes it may not permit bringing a camera or a drone outside in the rain or the snow. So often I may end up doing most of an episode or two from in here. This jumper is a blast from the past. I wore it in one of my original videos and I've kept it ever since, not knowing why. It's one of those things that I had in my closet for a long time, thinking, why is that still here? But it all makes sense now. So I said I'd wear it for this episode anyway. And sometimes I'll also use a screen capture to show you some pictures or websites or information, and I will show you that right now.
Okay, and so from here I'll be able to share my screen with you. I'll be able to share photos, journal entries, any information from the internet like websites or articles that are needed that might supplement the information that I'm talking about within the series. And so I can show you some examples for now that makes sense as it is an introduction video. So firstly, I have a very small version. Okay, resumed. I have an MRI scan, not of my own brain, that's in a CD and it's in my parents' house, so I don't have that on hand, but this is somebody else who had a pineocytoma and hopefully he recovered too, or she, and this is the tumour that I would have had. It's very similar size to my one. I think mine might have been slightly bigger, I'm not sure, but it's called a pineocytoma, a tumour that develops on the pineal gland And yeah, that eventually gets to a size of much like this golf ball shaped, and it stops the cerebrospinal fluid from flowing correctly from your spine to your brain and vice versa. And once that happens, that means death, to be honest, to be quite visceral and honest. Yeah, if your cerebrospinal fluid isn't flowing correctly, then you can die. And that's what would have had started to happen towards the end of my term with the tumour in my head. And that led to some beautiful death / near-death experiences that we will get into again in the future. But for now, this is all you need to know. This is what I was carrying around for my whole life, but it got to a certain point where it was too big to live. So here we are, thank God. And I can show you then what it would have looked like to remove that. My surgeon would have had to cut through my skull here, then cut through my brain, and then go through this little canal here and slowly, piece by piece, take the tumour out and remove it, and then put a gauge on my skull. And yeah, I can show you what that looked like after the surgery now. It's not as barbaric as I would have thought. This is my scar about a week later. This is basically what it looked like. Yeah, they cut through my trapezius muscle, which is kind of connected to your shoulders and your traps, your lats. It is your traps. And yeah, they cut through the muscle and the skin, then they cut through the brain, and then they cut through everything to get their way towards the tumour itself, which was in there, and gave me a bad haircut at the time. And you can also see there's some dents on my skull here. They had to screw 1 and 2 screws into my head to keep my head steady while they were operating on my brain, which also left some mini scars that we don't need to see. But yeah, this is what it looked like. Eventually my hair grew back properly, and I'm happy with that. I'm also happy with how neat my surgeon was. I expected it to be a lot bigger and barbaric at the time. There was a little bit of disappointment at the time, but upon reflection, I'm quite happy that it is neat and tidy. And so that's enough of the scar. Ooh, will I show you some more? Yeah, why not? So this was outside the hotel. I stayed for a week in the hospital, and then I moved to a hotel for 3 weeks in Belgium. And I'd like to go back there someday and make a video of that too, but we won't get into that right now. So I couldn't see properly. My optic nerves were damaged. I couldn't stand properly because my muscles were starting to develop atrophy from not moving, and I couldn't walk properly in general. I had a lot of issues with my balance for quite some time after that. My equilibrium was all over the place, and this is where I would come maybe an hour of day split up into 4 segments. So we had to use infection control, so I wasn't allowed to leave my room for 23 hours a day. I would come down here to get a bit of daylight every so often. My family would thankfully bring me down there. So yeah, it wasn't the easiest time, but thumbs up to my man here. And I won't add any effects, no thank you. Oh wow, that was cool. I picked up my hand gestures. Okay, didn't that time. And let's move from there to, yeah, we'll quickly look at the hospital bed. This is where I was when I had my surgery. Not much to add there. I have some funny videos of me waking up from surgery, and they had the test to see if I was okay, and I passed the test, let's just say that. We might get into that in a future point, but for now it's not necessary. And yeah, maybe one more. It's not my favorite photograph at all, but it adds to the context here. So this was about a week after my surgery too. This was me in a wheelchair, my surgeon next to me, who I won't reveal right now anyway. And yeah, not a nice time. That poor soul here. He was fighting for me, fighting for all the future Evans and all the past Evans alike. And we're all very thankful for him. But yeah, that was my resting face. It wasn't a good time, in a lot of pain, very lifeless, and you know, almost I don't recognize that person. So yeah, kudos to him for getting through that. And then yeah, that concludes the picture series for today. Yeah, thank you so much for still being here, if you are still here, and I hope that this will motivate you somewhat. And I'm going to give you back to the water log Evan right now. So thank you.
And most importantly, this series won't just take place within the physical world, but also within your heart, within your mind, and within your soul. Where will this journey take us? It is my hope that all who arrive to this channel come here seeking compassion, connection, guidance, help, and to help others. The more wonderful souls that we can gather together, the more information that we can bring to light, then the easier the journey will be for the future generations. So I implore you all to share your experiences, your insights, any advice you have for me or constructive criticism, because the more information, the better. And really and truly, I think that we should build this community, a community born from struggle and built for healing. In the future, I hope to someday bring these comment sections, this YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Reddit community into a designated platform. I don't know how that will work. We will know in the future, and if you're already there in the future, welcome. And from then on, maybe it will enter the physical space at some point. But for now, let's journey together and let's communicate and see where it brings us. So how will this series unfold? There'll be over 30 episodes within this series, split up into 3 different sections. The first section will deal with topics related to the beginning of an illness or diagnosis. Examples of such could be denial, acceptance, preparation, shame. The second section will deal with the battle itself, with facing your illness or whatever it is that you have going on right now. We'll be dealing with topics such as sleep, such as addiction, such as introspection, such as lifestyle. And section 3 will take on some of the more profound topics, such as facing mortality, faith, spirituality. And I plan to go into detail on each of these topics as I go along. This is going to be a profound journey of introspection for both you and I. And rather than overstimulate your brain through a myriad of quick shots and snaps and editing and sounds, I'm going to try and keep this series as calm and relaxing as possible, for I believe that your best chance for recovery and my best chance of creating this series will be in a calm and relaxing manner. So, how can I help? The plan is to devote myself to this series and also to this community. My promise to you is that I will be authentic to the core and always as honest as possible, and I shan't leave a stone unturned in fear of exposure to the public. Whilst this series is a gift from me to you, the viewer, it is also a chance for me to relive this whole life of mine in detail. And so yes, this series has been designed to help you, the viewer, but it is also helping me just as much. So how can you help? As stated earlier, all I ask is that you remain authentic and honest to the core. This experience, this journey that we're embarking on together, it's going to be extremely difficult while you search for harmony and balance within. And I ask that you be patient along this journey and have compassion for yourself throughout. And if you feel inspired, please share your experiences along the way. They might help somebody else. If you have any insights or you have any criticism constructively for me, that would be greatly appreciated, because again, the more information that we get out here in this community, well, then the better it is for the future generations that will come. And so why now? I began this journey almost 5 years ago. If you go back and you can watch my first initial 3 videos. At the time, I simply wasn't ready, and I realized that quickly. Really and truly, at that moment, I hadn't even begun to look inwards. In fact, I was using any behavioral pattern possible to repress and suppress all of my emotions. I felt invincible. I was using narcotics, alcohol, screens, food, businesses, relationships, basically any behavioral pattern I could find that would avoid eliciting any emotional responses within me. And inevitably that would lead to a collapse. Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, financially. That would have been one of my rock bottoms. And yeah, it's been many years since then, and I have been rebuilding slowly. It's not been linear, it's not been perfect. There's been many mistakes, but there's been many beautiful lessons along the way. And right now, at this current moment, I finally feel ready to balance out the idea of helping others whilst also maintaining helping myself. And so here I am. Actually, I'm finished here now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a walk, maybe 45 minutes that way, and I'll end up at what's known as the Witch's Hut, which is a calming little location, and I will finish this video from there. So I'll see you there in a second, which will take me 45 minutes. Alrighty, we have arrived at the Witch's Hut. I've recently found out that's what the locals are calling it here. I'm not quite sure how old it is. If any of you viewers would have any information as to how old this hut is or what it could have been used for, that would be much appreciated along the way. But as for now, we will enter the hut. So welcome. And we'll finish our questions inside. Welcome inside of the Witch's Hut, a place that I've grown quite fond of over the last few months. I've spent quite a bit of time in here. It's a very tranquil and relaxing place in the middle of a forest that not many people know about. And here, we will get into some of the more personal questions before I leave you go. And with that being said, question number 1. Why are you here? A question that I can't answer for you. The question, why you are here, has been relaying in my mind since a very early age, and I've no doubt it's been relaying in yours too. I can't answer that one. Hopefully you will figure that out along the way. But if we are asking why you are here watching this particular video right now, why are you connecting with me virtually, I assume I can answer that question. It's because you seek help, you seek guidance, you seek connection, you want survival. And if that's the case, if that is true, then I promise you I'll do my utmost. And I'll be there with you every step of the way. And hopefully, if we can achieve harmony and balance along the way, then someday you might be here, maybe even in the Witch's Hut, but you might be ready to use your journey and your information to help others who might be traveling a similar path at some point along the way. Which brings me to the question, why am I here? I've been given a gift, albeit a horrendously painful gift. I've had the chance to experience the end of my life. I've had a chance to sit on an operating table contemplating the last moments of my life, contemplating my existence, what I should have done, what I shouldn't have done, etc. And I've also built myself back up from that moment and from further collapse. And here I sit. I used to think that I'd be able to build myself back up to a quote-unquote normal life. And that was always my aim and my objective. And it took me a long time to accept that this isn't normal. And nobody's life is normal. We're all so unique. And the only thing that makes me feel whole in life is to help people, to help my species, to try and evolve in a better direction. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing this. It's the only thing that makes me feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, other than music, but we'll get into that later too. And finally, before I give it over to Office Evan, this question has been relaying in my mind for a long time too. The question being, why do we suffer? Here's the thing. How can we experience extreme highs if we don't experience extreme lows to compare it to? How can we understand love and elation and joy if we don't have depression, anxiety, fear, pain, suffering to compare those things to? So in a strange cosmic way, I believe, through my experiences so far, that suffering is a gift. It's a gift of insight. It is a lesson to understand that your body, your mind and your soul are disharmonious with each other. There is no alignment, and that is manifesting as an illness, whether that be a physical, an emotional, a mental or a spiritual illness. And it is an indicator that you have work to do, to balance, to align, and to create harmony within your internal environment, because that is what will get you where you need to go. That is what will help you to survive and live a beautiful, prosperous life and help this collective. So that to me is why we suffer. And just to supplement the suffering question, as I spoke about harmony within, it is of my opinion that our inside world is reflecting the outside world. And if you look at the outside world right now, it's full of conflict, and it has been for a very long time. To some, it's a very dark place. To others, it's not so dark, but still, even in little safe old Ireland, it does feel somewhat painful to witness what's happening around me, around the world right now. And I believe it's all directly connected to our internal conflict, the disharmony that we're all experiencing within. And so, by experiencing this dark episode that you might be in, it might give you a chance to develop a beautiful harmony and a beautiful unity within inside yourself. And I believe that if one by one we retreat back to the shadows, back to our caves, and we try to understand what it is that is creating this imbalance within us, then hopefully, if we all learn how to work together and how to get through these dark moments and how to build harmony within inside of ourselves, that collectively that will reflect on our exterior world, and yeah, that can only be a positive thing. So that's my supplement to the last question. And for now, I'm finished outside. I'm going to head back to the office, and there, Office Evan will introduce himself. And thank you so much for being here.
Alrighty then. Well, that brings us to the end of episode 1. I hope you enjoyed, and I thank you for being here. I'm eternally grateful for the idea of building this community and for helping you along the way. If you happen to be struggling right now through your own battle and you are here watching this, well then I hope that everything that I outlay may help to guide you in the right direction. I do not have a cure. I do not have your answers. I merely have my own experience to hopefully provide to you as a template or a blueprint that might help you in your direction. I am by no means perfect, and I'm most certainly not the Messiah. My life has been peaks and troughs. It's been a roller coaster. I've made many beautiful decisions and some not so beautiful along the way, but thankfully, having had those experiences, I can bring them to the table and hopefully benefit you by doing so. This is my first time ever embarking on a journey like this. I'm not a videographer, I'm not a photographer, I'm not an editor. And also, I'm very busy at the moment. I have a full-time job. Outside of this job, I have some other commitments, and hopefully I can offer an episode a week for now as we go along. I'll also add some social media content to that schedule, and that may help also. If you are any of the beautiful human beings that helped me with my fundraisers to get my health back on track all those years ago, I'd just like to express my love and gratitude from both I and my family, and also my friends, because without all of you wonderful people, none of this would be possible whatsoever. And finally, I'm going to leave the social media platforms that are connected to this community underneath in the information section. I'll also leave the email for the channel. And if you have any questions that you don't want to bring to the comment section, if they're more personal, well then directly message any of those platforms or send an email. As I said already, I'm very busy currently, but I will get back to everybody as soon as I can. And with that being said, I love you all, and I can't wait to make episode 2. I'll see you there.